Hello, 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 hello. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, whether you're in Asia, Antarctica, Oceanic, North America, South America, Africa, Europe, wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good evening, Josiah. Good evening, wherever you are. Guys, today is Tuesday. Yes, it's Tuesday. And tonight is all about the Caribbean. Tonight is One Caribbean. And of course, we will be talking a little bit about the development of track and field in the Caribbean, the image of the track and field in the Caribbean. But tonight, it is a four-part series, and tonight we will be looking at the field events. We will be kicking things off with the field event. So it is all about the Caribbean. Trinidad and Tobago is in the building. Jamaica is in the building. Bahamas is in the building, of course. We are also expecting St. Lucia to be in the building. So don't go anywhere. Stay where you are. Good evening, and we will be right back for this quick chat with our neighbors in the Caribbean. Stay right there. We'll be right back.
Jamaica's track and field legacy is unmatched. It is a story of triumph, resilience, and extraordinary talent. But do you know the stories behind the athletes who brought us glory? Hi, I'm HP, founder of HP Chat Track. My mission is simple: to celebrate the rich legacy of Jamaica track and field and shine a light on the incredible people who make it happen. Winning that race was a dream come true, but the journey wasn't easy. It's not just about medals, it's about inspiring the next generation. Jamaica track and field isn't just a sport, it's our pride, our culture, our heart. Every week I sit down with athletes, coaches and fans to bring you stories of dedication, passion and legacy. Plus, we've got exciting news and exclusive insights into the world of track and field. Make your Thursday night be at HP's place. Come hang out with us at HP Chat Track Studio, where track and field is our business. Jamaica. One people, one legacy.
And here we are. We are back. We are back. Track and field, the Caribbean. It is all about the Caribbean tonight and for the next week and a half. And with me, I have, a matter of fact, I'm going to allow each of them to introduce themselves. Just quickly, gentlemen, I'm going to give you 30 seconds just to introduce yourself, where you're from, which island you're from, and then we can move into it a little bit. Foss, I'm hearing your keyboard punches.
Oh, yes, yes,
Yes,
Anthony
we're hearing.
Foster.
Right. So go
Yeah.
ahead. We're going to give the guest an opportunity to go first. So I'm going to start with my good friend next to me, Jamaican. We're not here. We're not here. Go.
Jamaica.
Okay. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Jamaica, and where you're from.
Jamaica Archer. I'm from the Bahamas. I'm the president of the Bahamas Association of Athletic Associations, and I am the Caribbean region's greatest fan. So I think that this is a wonderful opportunity to talk about the Caribbean diaspora and its influence in the sport of athletics. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Go ahead, Dennis. Your time.
How you do? Dennis T. Allen, aka TT Game Plan, rep 868 all day. As you can guess, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, the bigger island, Trinidad, and I'm up here up in the hills on a very rainy night in Santa Cruz.
Woohoo! Welcome, welcome, welcome. Go ahead, Foss.
When you say Santa Cruz, I was hoping you're talking about Santa Cruz in Saint Elizabeth. That's almost where I'm from. I'm from Saint Elizabeth, Jamaica. Founder of trackalerts.com and Track Alert social media pages. It's nice to be a part of this show, and I hope we will have great discussion tonight.
Awesome, awesome. Welcome, gentlemen. And of course, I'm your girl, HP. I'm from Jamaica myself. Upper St. Andrew, Kingston and St. Andrew. And I'm the founder and CEO of HP Chat Track. And of course, my mission is to celebrate the legacy of Jamaica track and field. But we are here tonight to talk about the Caribbean and how we can help each other. Should we be helping each other? And of course, we're going to kick off the series talking about the field events. Gentlemen, my Caribbean neighbors, welcome again. Tonight is about the track and field, and I want to ask a question. My first question is, and anybody can take this question, and what are your thoughts on where the Caribbean is in global field events?
That's a big one.
I know, right?
Where we are,
Yes.
I
As an island,
yeah,
as a region, the Caribbean region.
I think for a region that supporters our fans have not yet accepted the field event as part of track and field, I think we're doing fairly well. Just recently, I was watching an event in, I think that event was somewhere, I'm not sure, where Shakari Richardson had opened her season. And I saw a young lady, I don't remember her name, but she was competing for Trinidad and Tobago. And I have to make sure I say Trinidad and Tobago because I don't want my good friend Clayton to be texting my phone now, but we are doing fairly well. Last year we won the gold medal in the triple jump and a silver medal also in the triple jump. We have seen where all the way back in, I think it was 2007, because I just started following track and field in early 2000. Donald Thomas from the Bahamas won. He won a silver medal. No, he won the world championships, and
Yep.
I have to be careful on that. He won, and he would have represented the Bahamas and represented the region very well. He competed for a very long time and was competitive throughout the years. We have seen also where O'Shane, not O'Shane, but um, O'Dane Richards of Jamaica, winning a medal in the shot put. We also now see Rajinja Campbell doing very well and being competitive. And I think he's also leading the Diamond League, standing in the shot put. So for field events that I don't think the Caribbean has accepted or find love for fully. I think we're doing very well. Just recently, we saw athletes coming out and saying, "Hey, we're glad that we're part of this new group that is really putting field event on the map." As we all know in Jamaica, it's all about the 100 to the 400, and these athletes feel that they are doing what they are supposed to be doing by putting the field event where it's supposed to be.
Dennis, your thoughts?
Um, for a long time, I actually thought that they gave you a different medal for track and for field. I thought that they gave you a bigger gold medal for sprints. And I actually had to go and check physically to see if it was the same medal because here in the Caribbean we don't have any appreciation for what we do on the field. Like Keshawn Walcott won a gold and a bronze at the Olympics, and like he could walk in town, and the only reason you would know that is Keshawn is because he's a big statue of a man. You know, um, and he is a loved athlete here. You know, when you think about what took place with Anderson Peters getting thrown off that boat, you start to think about what's really going on with field. But when you look across, like this weekend was combined events championships here in Trinidad and Tobago, and we saw um, we were really recruiting for the NACAC age group. So, which for the benefit of the non-track aficionado fans. Um, that is for young athletes in multi events. And I get the feeling that you would have seen Tyra. um, she would have been a former heptathlete, and she would have now converted to the jumps, right? So she's doing mainly long jump, but she also is capable in the high jump as well. Um, and we don't have any context for that. And I think for if we look at what's happening globally with the advent of Athos and with Grand Slam track, I think that position is concretizing even more because in the past you might think, well, all right, you win 100 meters. That's like the blue ribbon event at the Olympics. That's a blue ribbon event at the World Championships. So that's the prime event. But now you're saying basically, listen, unless you're in a global final, in a sprint, we don't care who you are, and I think that is bad for us, especially us here in the Caribbean. We have per capita in Trinidad, Tobago. We have per capita the most amount of Olympians, world champions, and Commonwealth Games athletes in the history of the planet. And if you count what those people have done, the amount of humans that they're faster than, stronger than, and jump higher than, I mean, it speaks volumes, but we don't count that. So we have to recalibrate the way we value ourselves, the way we value each other, and the way we value the best of us. Because I'm telling you, my son, he's 7 years old, he's in track and field, and I can tell you, he's pretty quick, but pretty quick is not going to get you to a final. But we don't have any room, any headroom to think that is pretty good. And furthermore, and this is the last point I want to make here, how do we reward? How do we reward athletes who are, if you want to call it, the B-listers, the people who are finalists, the people who are semi-finalists at the global games? How do we reward them? We know that the CSC games, we know that NACAC championships, we know that Pan Am games, those medals, even a Commonwealth games, they're not considered global medals compared to what the Americans win every day. You know, the Noah Lyles is complaining about, hey, I have 7 championships. I don't have a shoe deal. What does a Michelle Lee say? I mean, the road to Caribbean greatness for a female sprinter passed through Michelle Lee for almost what, a decade and a half. So when we think about how do we reward that, how do we put that accomplishment? It's getting really tougher for us in the Caribbean to really frame that into a context, into a conversation where we can all feel like, yeah, we've done something great.
You ask a very good question just now, Tate, and Tay, and I've been asking that question myself for a while. How do we reward or celebrate the in Jamaica we call them the second string or third string athletes? How do we celebrate those athletes who are also contributing to the legacy because they are a part of the legacy? And Archer, I want you to just jump in on this and share your thoughts as it relates to what Tay just said.
I think that I joined the chorus when we talk about the under, I shouldn't say underachievement, but the underexposure of the field events throughout our region. I think that we've led the way in so many ways. In fact, interesting enough, I was reviewing footage of Javier Sotomayor in 1991. You had Sotomayor in the finals. You had Troy Kemp in the finals from the Bahamas, and of course, coming back even closer to our period in 2002, we had a Donald Thomas who is still dominating the scene even today. And we can go on and on from the Hibberts, the upstart in the triple jump, to the Ricketts who have been dominating, to the Lafont, Thea. And there's no question that we have the genetics that proves that we are perhaps the most dominant region in the world. The reality, though, is track and field is about marketing and money. And I think that one thing that we are constantly faced with that most people don't talk about enough is how do we make track and field a spectator friendly sport? When we look at the field is almost obscured because they never really take center stage. And maybe it's about formatting, it's about how we deliver the sport quite differently because the market really dictates what they want to see and the value that is attached to it. I hear my good friend talk about the disparity even in the reward between a track athlete and a field athlete. The size of of the medal, one would think that it could be different because there is a real market distinction between someone winning the 100 meters versus someone winning the shot put. That is really more to do with market forces and how we market the event. Because, quite frankly, I mean, let's look at the middle distance races. You go into a stadium nearby and you say, oh, it's the 1500 meters. I'm going to go on coffee break or I'm going to take a lunch break. When in fact, at the World Championships or at the Olympic Games, it's perhaps some of the most exciting races. So it's really about, I think, how we package the event, the level of interest in these areas, that really makes the difference. Throughout the Caribbean, I think that we ourselves have placed a priority on who's the fastest man, who's the fastest female. And even if we look at the length and breadth of the shoe sponsors throughout the region, we would find that Puma has been the dominant shoe sponsor. And what is their slogan? The slogan tells the story about where the sport is headed, unfortunately. And I believe that we must impress upon the world that this is a space for, there's a space, a prominent space for the field events. But Forever Faster is indicative of where we are as a region in terms of the priority levels of our sport.
Gentlemen, I want you to correct me if I'm wrong on this. I was doing some research as it relates to the countries in the Caribbean or islands, as we call them, that has won medal at the Olympic Games. And my research came up with four countries: Jamaica, Cuba, Dominica, and Trinidad and Tobago. No, we have over 20 countries in, I think we have what, 26 islands in the Caribbean. And the Olympics has been around for quite a while. And data is showing that out of the 20 odd countries in the Caribbean, it is only four countries that actually found themselves on the podium. Why are we still lagging? Why is the Caribbean in the 21st century, 2025, still lagging behind?
Well, I
In the
Um,
think
field events, lagging behind in what?
In the field events, yes, we're
field
concentrating
events, right?
on field,
Okay.
right? We're concentrating on the field tonight, yeah.
So you have Grenada and the decathlon.
Well, the decathlon, it doesn't count as a field
Strictly
event.
field. Okay.
Yeah, we're strictly field tonight. Next
Okay.
week, next week
Throws on
Tuesday
jumps
night.
then.
Yeah, next week Tuesday night we're going to go middle long distance. After that, the sprints, and then
Gotcha.
of course the relays, right? So,
Of course,
uh,
we had Frank Rutherford in the triple jump and
at the
Levi.
Olympic level, at
Yep,
the
Frank
Olympic level.
Rutherford. He placed third in the triple jump in 1992, and I think Levan Sands placed third. Uh, it escapes me now, but yeah, they too are medalists at the Olympic level.
The our To me, our biggest challenge is, and gentlemen, you can jump into the discussion at any time. You don't have to wait for me to finish. The pole vault and the javelin. The pole vault and the javelin seem to be our biggest problem. Is it? Is it the lack of resources? Is it the lack of interest? Is it that we need to come together? Is it that we need to unite some more as a region? Uh, Talk to me a little bit
You see,
about.
I I personally believe I think track and field is getting a little bit boring now, and I think we're going to have to find ways to, you know, gone are the days when we used to have only test cricket, and then they introduce 1 day cricket, 50 over, and then they have to go to the T20. And I
T20.
think we're going to have to find ways to really build back that energy, build back that vibes for track and field. I personally believe we have too many events in track and field. We have too many events, in my opinion, because I would want to go to a track and field meet that's going to be 3 hours long or 3 hours long. And I should be able to see all events in track and field, right? And if you ask me, there are field events that I will cut completely from track and field, and there are track events that I will cut completely from track and field.
Why? Why would you do that?
Because, as I said, I would want to go to an event, a day's event, in 3 hours and able to see all the events that track and field has to
Which
offer.
events would you cut?
I'm doing away with the 400-meter hurdles. I'm doing away with the 1500 and replace it with the mile. Um, I am not going to run anything longer than a mile in a stadium. I am doing away with the 200 meters. We heard talks earlier, some time ago, that the 200 will, is being considered to be cut from the Olympic Games. We heard some years ago when the Diamond League announced that they were going to cut the 200, but of course they came under pressure and they kept it. I would cut the triple jump out,
It
because I
sounds
think the
it
long jump is
sounds
more
to
exciting.
me it sounds to me like you want to kill the sport, Mr. Foster.
No, I just think we have too many events, and we would have identified already on this program events that people don't pay attention to or people don't like to see. President Archer spoke about when certain events is running that people normally go for a coffee break or a break. Champs is one of the most exciting track and field events in Jamaica or across the Caribbean. And every time you see that 5,000 or 3,000 meters or steeplechase going on, that's when you see everyone moving to the restroom. So there are events that don't excite us. There are events that don't excite people. And I just believe that we have a sport called track and field, and we have the Racers Grand Prix, or we have the Rome Diamond League, but there are still not certain events being contested on the day. I
Jump
want to
in,
see all the events.
I want to jump in right here.
Dennis. Yes,
I want to jump in, and I'll say this to first, right? Track Alerts is a leading voice, not just in the region. Anything that happens here, you guys cover it, right? So hearing that from you is very eye opening for me. Now, I would have heard that you said that you would have mentioned something like that on the show before, and I'm new to this format, I'm new to this platform, so I haven't heard you. But that sounds like blasphemy, man. That sounds like, my God, what are you even saying?
I
So,
totally agree.
hear me out, right? Like, if you look at Grand Slam track, right? No field events to start with, and they just cut one of the distance events. Ask yourself something. Out of all the shoes that we have, throw shoes, jump shoes, sprint spikes, short sprint spikes, long sprint spikes, middle distance spikes, long distance spikes, how many of those things sell? That's specialty equipment. How many track uniforms do you go into a Walmart or Costco and see on discount? None. It's all specialty equipment. So if you remove middle distance, long distance, Nike is gone, New Balance is gone,
They're all gone.
Asics is gone, because that's where the fight is for them. They're fighting to sell the brand new $250 running shoe to people who want to be like that.
My question
Marathon.
is, I disagree. I mean, respectfully, I really have to disagree. If you look
Okay.
at the highest selling shoe, it is
Mm-hmm.
a it is a running middle distance, or I mean, road racing shoe.
That's what I'm
Those,
saying, though.
but 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 the difference is they're selling to the common individual who simply wants to exercise. They're not gonna make money off of sprints. They're not gonna make money off of jump and triple jump shoes because there's no market for it.
That's the point I'm
Anthony,
making.
but
So
Anthony goes,
when you cut the mids, when you cut the distance, you cut your sponsorship. You cut
no,
your brands.
I
They're
actually,
gone. They're gone
if you,
forever. Because that's where they
the
make the
highest,
money. Track and
Dennis,
field, the track and the field especially are subsidized events. That's what you
I
got to think
agree.
about it as a
The
business.
field events, and
Field,
really, essentially,
definitely
I, I,
subsidized.
I am a product of the field events. I was a long jumper. But the
Okay.
reality is this: if you did a market study and you looked at why track and field is perhaps the most watched event at the Olympic Games, it goes right back to the very same equation that we talk about. The calculus that we are looking at speaks very specifically to me wanting to see the fastest man in the world, the fastest woman in the world. And that's where the Olympic makes its money. The Olympic does not make its money off of any throws or any jumps. Unfortunately, I love the events. I love to watch an Zimbabwean or a Rojas triple jump. I just love the energy of a Willie Banks. But that is not what captivates the audience in the stadium. And that is why after the Olympic Games, we have not been very successful generating the kind of revenue at any one of those major championships. Very easily because it's not as marketable as we would like to think. Some of the
Think of something
best
like this.
athletes,
Think of this
I'll
though.
put you, the best athletes in the world migrate to other sports. Why? Because it's a higher revenue generating sport. It comes down to money.
Money.
It comes down to the ability to generate money. We look at even, and I hate to digress, but the question that most of us are left asking is, why is it that the Caribbean isn't as good in the relays as they've been in the past?
Yes,
Well, I'll
sir.
save it for another
And
discussion.
we're going to save that
There's a
for the
simple answer for
finale.
that. Contracts.
Yeah,
Contracts. The
yeah.
contract does not reward you for running a relay. It comes down to money. And and formatting, rescheduling, looking at the program is a very interesting thing. And I think that the Grand Slam really tells a new story about the direction the track and field could be heading.
And also, you spoke about the Grand Slam. There's also Atlas, which just now for this year they are introducing one field event, and that's the women's long jump. And as I said to me, that may be one of the most exciting field events and that's just my own personal opinion. And as I said before, I wasn't even talking about cutting the 3,000 or the 5,000 out of the sport. But I think for me, I think those events may be suitable for outside of the stadium, or if you're doing it, maybe you can do it outside of the stadium and finish inside the stadium, right on top of that main television hour. So television will at least get those persons when they start coming in. Because if you look on the Diamond League, very few field events are being showed live for the Diamond Leagues. So when you look at it, for example, when you're watching, they record it and then they show you during the main broadcast. Hardly, I think
So
only
there's
this
no
year.
love. There's no love for the field events at
I don't,
championship.
and I think that we have to be very careful because we ought to make a distinction between a 1 day meeting versus a 1 week meeting or a 2 week meeting.
Yes.
I absolutely love watching the middle distance races or the distance races at a major championship. It's one of the most exciting because there's this edginess, this shifting of pace and shifting of positioning that makes it so exciting to watch. I don't
Mhm.
know if we've reached that level of competitiveness at our level, but again, it's also about how quickly we can come into a stadium, look at a 2, 3 hour format, and then go back home. The World Championship, I think, has done that successfully. But you certainly couldn't expect to have the very same experience at a regular track meet in Jamaica or in the Bahamas or in Trinidad. So I think that there are some distinctions there that we have to be careful with, because you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, oh, it's bad. It's really about how do we make this event impactful, intense, and short so I can go home and feed the kids.
But let me ask a question now, gentlemen. How long would you want to spend in a stadium watching track and field?
No longer than I would spend watching a football game or a basketball game. That's an average of maybe 3 hours. If I
Three
go
hours.
to a football match, a soccer match, that's about 3 hours. After that, I get restless and I'm hungry.
All right, before we go any further, I want to read some comments. There are some very interesting comments here. All right, welcome each and everyone. Welcome, welcome. I think Archer is frozen a little bit. His mouth is not moving, but welcome each and everyone. Of course, we're having a very intense discussion here, and tonight is about the Caribbean. Yes, we have united to talk about track and field, and tonight we kick things off with the field events, the love for the field events. Of course, we have Bahamas in the building, we have Trinidad and Tobago in the building, and Jamaica is in the building. Kermit Taylor, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here. Ethelyn Tate, Jamaican Olympian, is also here in the building. Welcome. Kermit is saying, Foster, stop playing with the keyboard. Stop playing
Kermit,
with the keyboard. I totally agree.
Can
Track
you
Kermit,
guys
diamond.
Kermit
can you
is
guys see
teasing
me?
me.
We can see you, Archer, but your mouth is not moving. I think you have frozen. You can just jump off and jump back on. Track Diamond is here saying good night. Track Diamond is saying, I want to see more open showcase, bringing it closer to the fans. Street pole vault, long jump, and high jump. Kermit is saying, at the World Athletics events, all right, let me just bring Archer back in. I think he's having some internet issues. So he's buffering a little bit. Let's add him. Hopefully he will jump back in. Yes, Kermit is saying at the World Athletics events, they are now making their meet and experience. Only us in our region still hosting events, character and the championship like the 80s. We are not keeping evolving. And Kermit, I totally agree with you, because that was going to be my next question. The sport is moving, the sport is evolving. Is the Caribbean evolving? But hold that thought. Vonnie M, Jamaican Olympian, 1972, 1976 Olympian, is here. Diamond is also saying the sprints and short hurdles are NACAC focused. And that is going to be another question. Is it that in the region we are too focused on the sprint, and because of that we are killing the field event and the middle and the long distance event? So thank you guys. Keep those comments coming. Monica Lewis, good evening, good evening. Good evening, everyone. And let me go back. Archer is trying to reconnect, but gentlemen,
HP, if I can take this one before. So personally for me, and I totally agree with Kermit, I think our own associations need to lead from in front. We
before you continue, Foster, I think your something is giving a feedback. I don't know if it's your keyboard
No,
or
it's
your.
not me.
It's not you.
Yeah, I heard it. It's not coming from my end.
Okay, okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm not hearing it now though.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so I think our associations in the region need to start lead from the front. A month or 6 weeks ago, there was an event put on by Ryan Krauser. It was a shot put experience. And I think at that event, he would have invited the best or the six top shot putters in the world. And it was like in a little park. And it was it was live stream, which was good. It took a different format where for you to move past every round, you have to register a certain mark. It was well received by the athletes. It was well received by the fans because the fans were right there with the chores. I think it's time for us to take field event, maybe to the streets or to the park. Let's look on Jamaica, for example. Um, Emancipation Park in New Kingston. How about taking a shot put event in the park on a Saturday or a Sunday evening? Allow some of Jamaica's best top shot putters. Maybe you don't even have to invite persons from outside the country. Take the shot put event in the park, and this is what I think the J3 is going to have to look on. It's going to be at evening. People are in the park. They are eating ice cream. They're out for their, a
Evening
regular Sunday
stroll.
evening stroll.
Hmm.
Take it in the park, allow those persons to draw more to the field events. You can have the long jump can be in the park. The high jump can be in the high jump, for example, can be in the middle of half a tree. You can block off that little section between the clock and Jamaica National and put put the high jump bag, put the high jump whatever there, and create an atmosphere. Take one of the high jump to Mandeville, take one to Montego Bay, have some of these events. Yes, you cannot do the javelin on the street or in the park. You don't want to do the the javelin and what other event? The discus.
The
But
discuss.
there
Hammer,
Where,
hammer
where,
throw.
or the hammer
or the
throw.
hammer
Yeah,
throw.
exactly. But there are most of the field events, the triple jump, the long jump, the high jump, the pole vault, the shot put. These
Take it
can
to
be
the
in
street, as
parks or
Trap
in the street.
Diamond said. Hmm.
Yes. And that
You
is
know,
what I would want to see happen.
funny enough, right? Um, we had a concept for a mall tour with high jump, long jump, and shot put, right? Um, we even had there was one mall down here, C3 Mall down in South Trinidad. Their car park was long enough, and we were going to do a 60 meter, a 4 lane 60, kind of like based on what Adidas Street Boost used to kind of look like.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we had everything. We had sponsors. We had everything. Of course, the outgoing entry is executive, led by George Commission. He's a man of no account in my books. Did nothing for the sport, but we're not here to malign character. But it never got anywhere. It never even got discussed at the board level or at the general council level here in Trinidad and Tobago. What the entry is. Why? Because he didn't think it was going to make any sense. And I'm like, yeah, but all you got to do is lend me a mat and lend me a time and equipment, and I
Hmm.
do the rest. I had all the sponsors, everything. And anybody knows TT Game Plan knows it's all about the razzle dazzle, it's all about the hype, right? So the concept of what you're talking about, I think there's a lot of resistance to change for no other reason but because it's uncomfortable for a lot of those people who are, a lot of them are older than me. I'm 53. I'm 50. I mean, I mean, I look at with my gray crown here, but the fact is I get in touch. I have a TikTok. I have a YouTube. I have a very thriving online social media presence, and I connect with a lot of these athletes. So when I talk about change. I'm not just talking about putting a soca band or some coal flames or some coal sparks and doing no. I'm talking about bringing real new ideas, and I like that throws thing. I had a concept for a throws relay where you have four teams and they have to do a throw. You have your
Hmm.
discus, your shot put, and you bring in your javelin, and you have to do a throws relay. So
Sounds
every
good.
round somebody else
Hmm.
does one thing, and that's how
Hmm.
you move ahead. So
Sounds
there
good.
are new ideas, but people resist them for no other reason but
And
they
and that's
can.
and that's the same question I was going to ask you. Is it that the people who are leading track and field in the Caribbean region, is it that we are not open to suggestion for change? Is it that we're not allowing, or they're not allowing new fresh blood to come in and and explore. Where is the democracy in? I don't get it. But as it is right now, the image of the region's track and field is under pressure. It is not at a good place.
We're in trouble because I don't think we're doing enough. And as Clayton mentioned, not my bad, not Clayton, Kermit. I mean, we're all good friends,
Mm.
Clayton, Kermit, and I. But as Kermit mentioned, in the region, we're still doing things like in the 80s. We have not done anything
Uh,
new.
can you
Anything.
guys hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you, but we're not seeing you. Your camera, I think your camera is turned off.
I have no idea why it's turned off, but
Or what you can
continue to
try to
proceed.
do.
I'm happy that you can hear me, so I can jump in even if you hear my voice.
Yes.
Okay,
So
or you
I
can restart your machine if you want to and try to reconnect.
so as I
Okay.
was saying,
Hmm.
and again following up on what Kermit said, we are not. I have not done anything new
Nothing
to
new.
to promote, to build, to continue the legacy. I mean, we're going to have to change things. For example, social media is so big in the world. Social media is huge. The World Athletics now are inviting content creators, social media content creators, to be a part of World Championships experience where they're accrediting social media content creators. Now, if you look across the region,
But before you go any further, look what the Grand Slam has done. The Grand Slam has invited us
mm,
as content creator,
yes,
YouTubers, whatever you want to call us, to be a part of their media
yeah,
coverage for their
we
events.
we have not and couple few years back, Carifta Games, wherever it was being hosted, used to attempt they attempted on several occasions to charge media personnel a $100 US fee for accreditation, right?
What?
Yeah, we
What?
as journalists we had to fight to
Fire.
get them to dismiss of it. And it goes to show that I'm traveling from Jamaica to wherever in the Caribbean for a Carifta Games, and you're gonna hear that you need to pay $100 for accreditation. Foolishness. World Athletics, many of these big events across the world, be it the Diamond League or whatever, you have not heard that from any one of them. You have not heard that, and I'm saying we across the Caribbean need to step up to the plate. For argument's sake, when I started track alerts in 2009, there were times because I live in Jamaica and I am far more familiar with Jamaican track and field or with the Jamaican athletes than I am with the ones in Trinidad and Tobago, the Bahamas, Grenada, wherever they are. I will know the Jamaican athletes from high school. I'm used to the name, so it's easier for me. And I used to reach out to every single association across the Caribbean to say, hey, I want to work with you. But the way we're going to have to do it, many of these associations have what they call on their executive committee a PR person. And I would want your PR person to keep us up to date. Send us at least a weekly report as to what is going on in your country. Send us some photographs, send us some things so we can publish them, right? It has never really happened. It has never really happened because I don't know if these people take it serious. It is your sport. You are the leading group or the organization that is running the sport, and you should do whatever it takes to get your sports recognized or to get the publicity for your sport in your country. And
Indeed, indeed.
I,
Dennis,
you
you're
know,
burning to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to say something. Like, for instance, right? This weekend, like I just mentioned before, was Combined Events Championships, right? Um, TT Game Plan is a photography, videography service. I recently was the operator for a big national football league, and we got 1.3 million views on TikTok, another 1.3 million views on Facebook for a kids league. for a youth league, right?
Mhm.
TT Game Plan is a service, and I always tell people I am my biggest customer because I go out there and I shoot. We do videos, we do whatever content, and we put it out there. Am I getting paid? No, I didn't
No.
get paid, and I'm very good friends with the president of the entries, right? I'm very good friends with at least half of the board. We good, like real good, like literally we would talk every once a week, but they have no money. They're not interested. So what you talking about for us? That don't happen because there's nobody to do it, and they don't want to pay me. If you look at the Ministry of Sport has about 4 or 5 sports officers that are paid positions, social media positions. There's sport company also with another 4 or 5 sports officers. There's a communications manager. There's a there are paid positions, and between the Ministry of Sports and sport company, you're talking about maybe about $1 million a month going in towards content. They don't own a camera. They don't have a 600 millimeter lens. They don't have a video camera. They don't know any, or none of them know how to edit a video, right? Where is it going to come from?
But
There's nobody. You talk
Dennis,
about a
I think
PRO. There's nobody on these boards that even know what that job is.
Yeah.
And I
we
was the
have.
PRO for netball in Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm telling you, the president, former president, Sherry, has no clue, had no clue about what my job was. And I'm telling you, this is what is pervasive in Trinidad and Tobago and the rest of the Caribbean. Most people don't know what the job is. So it's not a matter they're not doing it right.
Listen,
They don't have a clue.
the,
Yeah, they don't know what the job
can
description
you
is.
guys hear me?
Let us
Yeah,
hear
we can
from
hear you. Jump right
Rob.
in, bro.
Jump in.
Sorry. Technical difficulties. I'm sorry about that.
That's
But
okay.
listen, let's go to the mixed relay.
Let's
When it first
the
debuted,
relay. The relay. We want to do the relay next.
no.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I want to hear this
We
point,
can't
Yeah,
though.
but
Go
go ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead.
separate. We talk about reinventing ourselves in this sport, right? People do not want to see the same thing day in and day out. So we talk about format and we talk about how we once again. The mixed relay was perhaps the most exciting thing until somebody said, I don't like the idea of a man
Yes.
running against a woman. And so we got to make this a little more static. And then it changed the whole dynamic once again. The point I'm making is if you look at the successful sport around the world, basketball, football, soccer, baseball, they're all team sport. And I believe that if we create a formula where Anthony, Heather, Dennis, and Sharika Jackson all form part of one team doing varying disciplines and have a scoring system, it makes it perhaps a little more interesting than just seeing the same old. That is why the Grand Slam proved to be very interesting. If you look at Nugent, you had a Musai Russell who won the hurdles. But Nugent came back and beat it in the 100 meters, and she got the $100,000 grand prize, right? It's because it makes it more exciting to see this smorgasbord of different competitions happening all at the same time that proves that this person is the best all around. Perhaps Jamaica is the best all around team based on this composition. And I think that that is what will bring people together and follow track and field in a team sporting environment. I think that that's a model that we need to consider because that is the direction that we take it. Calabar, Casey, and everybody else go to champs because it's rivalry. And we've not created enough tension in the sport to allow it to grow and to create greater interest. The only
You
people
know
who follow the
something?
sports are parents.
I want to piggyback on that. I want to piggyback on that, right? Um, when you go to cricket or you go to a UEFA Champions League or anything, what do you see with the fans? The number one thing, they're all wearing a shirt. They're back in their club, right? And that's a
Yes,
big thing. They have scarves. They have all of these things. When
They
you
have
go to a
cats.
track meet, what do you have? They ain't
with the
got nothing.
exception, with the
They ain't
exception
got
of
nothing.
champs, with the
You
exception
think
of
I
champs,
love Sharika
where
Jackson?
you
You
have
just
the
called one of
Casey and
the
the whole
most
lot
amazing athletes of this
fighting
generation.
for
Can I wear a
Fighting for
Sharika
a
Jackson
lane
top?
competition, that is what makes champs so distinct from any other
Branding.
track meet in the world.
It is all about branding, and I
Branding
in
and
the
team
Caribbean.
association.
Yes, in the Caribbean, I think we are still far behind as it relates to branding. We don't have a clue what branding is. That is one of our biggest problems in the Caribbean. Branding.
But I
You
think
know, HP.
you need to look at
Go ahead, Jamaica.
the opportunity is if you look at champs, if you look at Caribbean, these are branded events because people want to see what Trinidad is going to do this year. People want to see what Jamaica is going to do this year. People, I make a prediction. We will turn up Jamaica, turn up Trinidad in the relay. And that is the kind of tension that people look forward to seeing. It's entertainment. And I think that we need to look at how we can grow the sport, not only as athletes, but grow the sport as a business, as marketers, people in technology, people in graphic artists, the graphic artists, and all of the orange industries, the talents there coming to bear and really creating a new product. And I think that we can do that better than anyone else in the world.
I think
We
so
have
too.
the talent.
Yeah. And my next question is going to be, Dennis, you wanted to say something. I'm going to allow you to shoot, and then I'll come with my question.
Yeah, I just wanted to concretize the point that I was saying. We need a major change. You see, we need a T20 moment in track and field. And I disagree. I don't think Grand Slam track is it. Grand Slam track is to enrich the top tier of track.
I don't think so.
We only have a couple of those people. All
I
right. Look at what happened with Johan Blake, 1040 what? 1048? I mean, let's get real. There are high schoolers running 1040. All right. There are high schoolers running sub 10. So and Johan Blake is a legend. You know what I mean? Think about it like this. I could go right here and pick up a pair of Air Jordan 4s, a shoe that was first launched when I was a teenager, that I just bought for a hell of a lot of money for no reason other than I love those shoes. Do we have a Johan Blake? Do we have a Usain Bolt? Do we have a Sharika Jackson? Do we have anything at all in track? The
nothing.
idea is we don't, because there's no market for it. All Grand Slam track is doing is cherry picking at the top of the market. That's not the formula. We need something for the base, where the
Artificial
fans could come
music.
in, where you can put and sell T-shirts, where you can sell uniforms, and you can pack a stadium, where you
Yes,
can put
sir.
30,000 people into a Hazley Crawford Stadium, or 30,000 people into a Kingston. That's what
Dennis,
you need.
Dennis,
You don't need to see the same
which
eight
comes,
people win every week. You don't need that.
Yep.
we have to create a product. Buy a T-shirt if
The
the
product
product
is
is
out
bad.
there.
The
Put
product is
teams.
already
So,
there.
Jamaica just said it. Put
listen,
teams. Let's just
here's the
put some
deal.
teams. Let's do a
Here's the deal.
Caribbean pro
We
track
we
league in the
have
Caribbean. 8 people on a team, and they run, throw, jump. And next week they put in a wild card, and we do that, and we just do that up and down the Caribbean. Every 2 weeks we have a meet.
You know what
That's
I
what we
realized?
need.
You know what I realized, gentlemen? We in
Hmm.
the Caribbean, we do not support each other's events the way we should. And I'm going to give you examples. We have a relay carnival in Jamaica every year called the Gibson McCook Relay.
Hmm.
And sometimes I beg to see international teams. Sometimes I'm like, where are the Caribbean teams? Can't we get a few Caribbean teams to come over to compete in this relay carnival? And it doesn't have to be your college athletes who are away at university, because we know that it is going to be hard for them to come back for a small event. But put some teams together. Let the Bahamas come in. Let Trinidad and Tobago come in. Barbados, Grenada. Put 4 people together and say, come, we're going to Jamaica to be
It's
a part
about
of that relay carnival. But we are not doing that with each other. We're not collaborating. We're not together as
it's about 2,000 US per person to get to Jamaica and to stay and to eat anything but ramen and tuna. All right. So if you look at a school club, a school team, or a young club, and you say we want to do a relay, all right, that's four people. That's $8,000. We don't
Plus,
have that. You see, we don't
plus,
have a pro club. We don't have pro club systems here. It's pay
plus.
to play. So you pay to put your kid into a club,
Wow.
and you pay for everything. It's different in Jamaica. In Jamaica, a parent drops their kid off to school. They can train there from 4 o'clock in the morning, whatever time. You can
Eat
drop
there.
that kid up and then come back for them at 7 p.m. And everything good, son? Nice. How you run today? Good. Let's go home. They train there, they run there, they eat there, they could park there, they have residential schools there. It's different from Trinidad. Trinidad and Tobago, for you to go from Tobago to Trinidad, that's you have to travel by plane, because if you travel by the boat, you're going to be sick. You have to travel, and then you have to find a place to stay. And Port of Spain is the only stadium with tours and jumps and a track, right? So for a championship, you have to find, I would say, about maybe about 600-700 US
Per
per
person.
person to,
Wow.
to compete in a
Anthony,
championship,
Anthony
right?
made a
So
great
so this
point.
idea of inter-island sports tourism, it starts with the fact that the last time there were ships traveling between us was about 500 years ago, and it was entirely involuntary, right? And we need to figure out, hey, how to get back that connection, because I would love to see it, right? I
I,
would love to go to Guyana,
We,
and
we,
I would
we,
love to
we
go
have to get,
to Aruba and Anguilla. I want to see everybody and
I
run
just the
there
same.
and take photos, and I want to be that.
Yeah.
My product is called
Anthony,
Team to
Anthony
Dow.
made, Anthony made a great
President
point.
Archer coming in, but he's a little bit low.
Anthony
Uh,
Go
made,
ahead. I'm saying, I'm done with what I'm saying. Go ahead.
can you guys hear me?
yes, we're
Yes.
Yeah,
here.
we're hearing you, man.
Anthony made a great point. And the point was, there was a time when NACAC was imposing a fee for the media. I think that we should be looking at it in the reverse. Again, we have to look at the product and how we continue to develop and grow this product. And as a part of the media's job, it is to promote the sport, creating greater access so that we can draw and attract more fans to our base, right? So we have to grow the base. But in growing the base, again, I go back to the product. I'm not going to buy your t-shirt if your t-shirt isn't marketable. I want to buy Usain Bolt t-shirt because when I go to the stand and I see Usain Bolt, I see him do this, and people look forward to it. And so for me, I think that there's a component that we totally overlook, and that is the personality of the sport. We have to develop personalities. We have to develop the Michael Jordans. And I'm just using this in a way for us to begin turning our minds very differently. Shakari Richardson is not necessarily the fastest athlete, but she's the most sought after athlete because they tell stories about her. People come into her house, they talk about the passing of a mother, and all of this creates suspense, intimacy, and we've not we have the best athletes in the world. Nobody knows who we are. Actively, others track meets. I don't think that that's really the issue. The issue is collectively coming together, looking at host broadcasting, saying that we can do this better than anyone else in the world, or as an area, we can do this better than anyone else because we have the product. And we have not done that. We have not looked at the business of the sport in a very serious way to see how we can collectively grow capacity within our own region. And that's something that we need to look at. Who talks about host broadcasting? Who talks about attaching a Visa or a McDonald's or Gatorade to their event at a global level or regional level? I'm not talking about the retail mom and pop store who happens to be a retailer of Gatorade. I'm talking about the ability to create stronger partnerships. And we have failed because we're only looking at track and field as an event where we run and jump. No, we're selling a product. And that's what I think that the United States has done better than we have done in the area.
And I'm glad you raised that point, President Archer, because for me, running a track and field news business, would have reached out to many meet organizers in Jamaica. I want to live stream your event. And one of the first thing they're asking, how much are you paying for rights? How much am I paying for rights? I am live streaming an event that I'm getting sometimes over 100,000 views for the day, sometimes more. I'm bringing extra promotion to your event. That is what you should use to get a little bit more from your sponsors.
Yeah.
I have to work and come out of my pocket many of the times. One of these meets for an all-day meet, these development meets in Jamaica run the entire day, 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours, some of them. You're asking me how much are you paying us to stream? There are events in the United States of America, for argument's sake, that pays streaming companies to come in and stream for them because they want to promote their meet. In Jamaica, it's the other way around. I have to fight with organizers to stream their meet, to give their meet the publicity. One organizer told me if you live stream our meet, no one is going to come and pay the entry fee. They would not come anyway. They're not going to come. And a lot of these, again, you have these events that they're running. It's not like you have a particular time of the day when you have the name brand events. You have to be there the entire day, and you have to be there the entire day because you want to catch everything. One live streaming for a day can cost me um at the very lowest end at least $1,000 to pay my staff. I have to find that money because I'm not getting any sponsors to do it. Of course, I hope maybe by next year or the other year that I can start make some money off this business. And these organizations, these meet organizers, they need to stop it. A lot of them don't even have a branding for their own meet. Many of the meet organizers don't even have a logo for their meet. A logo is a basic thing, and it's a thing that every single meet should have. There's something about your meet that people can see and recognize your meet. And this is why I believe a lot of our meet organizers are falling down, or they just don't care about the development of the meet that they are putting on.
Look at
Wow,
something.
that's a
Just
mouthful.
one last little point I want to make here. Trinidad and Tobago hosted Curfew Games this year. By all accounts, it was a success, right? Um, the media, there were 116 accredited media. 116. In 2019, we were in Cayman. We had a little booth. We had a little 20 by 20 tent with four tables, four 6 foot plastic tables. And most days we had enough room for all of us. That's the scale of what happens when we do things here in Trinidad and Tobago. Um, it was a bigger event than the last time we hosted, I think, which would have been in Tobago. It was a bigger event. Why? Because things just happened to be logistics. It's just better in Trinidad than it is in Tobago. But think about it like this: about 6,000 people came, right? 6,000 people per day. That's not a hell of a lot. What does a Gatorade come in with? What does a Lucasade come in with? What does a KFC come in with? What does a major financial tech or startup or Google, what do they come in with that makes that money back? Where's the commercial value for them?
What
Right? Look at
is
Racers. Racers was big, was huge. Did anybody leave their home to go fire up, jump on a plane to get there? I
I
don't
think,
know. I mean,
Dennis,
I don't think so.
I don't think that we should look at it in isolation. I think that if you look at the region that comprises of millions of people, I
No, I'm
think
going
that
to get to that
then
because I'm going to
then
get to that. Hold on. Look at what happened when Grand Slam track was in Anson, right? In Miramar. I mean, we know that track. That track wasn't full. That's how many
that's
people? Like
that's not
4,000, 5,000 people.
that's not
Grand
none of
Slam
what
track is
it
not
is.
sustainable,
The
but it's the
money,
biggest show on in the calendar right now. It's
money
bigger than
is
Diamond League, except when Diamond League is
the
in Europe, which still makes the most money for a track and field event. Track and field.
You
why the amount of people money that you make in the stands. The money is in host broadcasting. Because if I can have a million viewers, then I can you can actually sell ads for all of these major sponsors. But you have to grow. But that's where the money is. And if you look at all of the major, that's where they make their money. Not the revenue in the stands, because IQ has been so successful because people are paying subscriptions. Hopefully, one day we can get to a place where the Carifta Games, for example, so big, or Champs. I believe Champs has the product already. You can't watch Champs unless you live stream through this subscribed channel and you pay $5 a day to watch it, or whatever that figure is. We need to begin understanding the business of what we do and why they do it. Champs has hundreds of thousands of people who follow it every day. Whether I'm in the stand or not, millions of people are watching and following Champs on YouTube and social media everywhere we go. That's what I'm
Yes.
talking about. And that is what I call a product that we as a region collectively have not done well. Now, I can tell you that if you look, I have a godson who Report Grand Bahama went to KC, and he's doing phenomenally well. And what Jamaica has been doing well now is they're attracting people from all over the region to train them within their systems and creating, again, greater capacity. Why? Now you have all of a sudden, not only you've joined the great and the deep pool of Jamaica, but you're now bringing the entire region into one spot. So they've created the product that I think that if we understand the value of it, the value proposition is something that we have not properly considered. And once we understand what that looks like, everyone want to buy a Champs t-shirt. Everyone want
Yep.
to figure out who is the next great thing. And Champs quite possibly can open it right now. If you really think about it, Champs has a bigger brand than any other sporting event, track and field event in the area, not the region, the area. So they can very easily take over the market and say, okay, guys, come to our event. We create an event spot for you. The same way Penn Relays has done it. Penn Relays is other than a Caribbean event, they've marketed differently from the way we have. We got to get back to the
Yeah.
drawing board and figure out how to commercialize, monetize what we offer the world that we allow to just slip out of our hands.
Can I bring up a
And
point here?
before we go any further, just one moment. I want to read a comment. Trap Diamond made two comments that I like. She said we could have field events on the beach.
Yep.
On the beach, you could set up a nice field event on the beach.
May,
Attract the people, bring the people to the beach, and you have the different jobs. And I
maybe
like that.
maybe on one of those public holidays where
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
hundreds of people on the beach. Maybe.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. Well,
That's a,
the idea is to take the sport into the community.
yes,
I love the idea of racing through the streets. I've always had the idea, like the Boost meets that take place in the center of town. I love the idea of having track meets there, but not in the clean and pristine areas, in the community itself,
Hmm.
because that is what draw people to the sport. No
hmm,
one goes to a track meet if it isn't popular.
Yeah.
They'll go to a basketball game because people want to be seen. The best athletes in the world want to be showcased. That's where the money is, or the
Let,
future
let,
is in the sport.
let me bring a point here, right? Now, I coached basketball. I played basketball, right? My background is really basketball, but I've also been in media for 30 years, right? Mainstream media, print, TV, radio, online. A lot of people compare what is happening with the top sports, NFL, NBA, Champions League, etc., etc., etc. The fact is, most of those leagues are run by and owned by billionaires, are run in metropolitan cities with millions of people living there. and most importantly, run on a commercial business model that has access to capital, funding, and markets that we in the Caribbean don't have, right? So as good as Champs is, I'm only interested in it to see the Trini athletes that are competing. That's the only reason I want to see it. And I also want to see who we are to beat when they come to Carifta. That's it. So I
Right.
would be able to frame my conversation that I'm having about my Trini athletes around what's happening over there. Like, for
You know,
instance, LeBron James, he won the junior college javelin, and he's a Tobagonian who went to school in JC, Jamaica College. Big shout out to Rajiv Ford. Big up my brother. But let me say this: outside of that, outside of that, Trini competing in yard, what are the talking points that I can sell to Trinidad as an audience? Zero. Who are these kids? We don't know. You know them, but y'all don't do a very good job at talking about them.
yeah, I agree. I
You
agree.
know? So for it to
But
be a product, there's a high level of interest. But for it to be a product, you have to do what the NBA does. Invest in the conversations about the athletes, right? But look at something. Look at what the WNBA does. They invest in the communication about the gender politics. And it hasn't worked for them. They still haven't ever made a profit. So we're saying, okay, look, you mentioned pen relays. Pen relays is important to Caribbean athletes because college coaches are there. Other than that, it's just another weekend, right? Grace Kennedy has invested in it to the point where they are now the lead sponsor of advertising and brand presence in pen relays. Why? Because the Jamaican athletes are going there and they know that if they can sustain that, they're going to get their brands in there. And the people who want to support it are going to send back money through remittances. At one point in time, Grace Kennedy had more money than Jamaica's GDP. And this is just facts. And the reason why Champs is big is because Grace Kennedy makes a lot of money from remittances and that ecosystem where people who left schools in Jamaica and go to foreign send their money back. Every month they send back a
Champs is
barrel,
Champs is big
right?
because of
That
branding.
doesn't happen anywhere
Pen
else.
Pen
That
relays
doesn't
is
happen
big.
anywhere else in the Caribbean.
Pen
Not at
relays is
that kind of
big
scale.
because
And
of
Grace Kennedy
branding.
is here in Trinidad and Tobago. We can't get a
So
dollar out of them. Sajiko, we can't get a dollar out of them. It just doesn't happen. Look at what happened with World Relays. I don't know why Bahamas let that go. That should have been yours. Y'all should have owned that. Y'all should have owned that IP. Y'all should have said, listen, we're not going to another one unless it come back home here. Because outside of that context of the sun, the Caribbean, and that beautiful theater of agony and suspense, forget about it. Y'all own that. It's irrelevant unless it's back there. You understand where I'm coming from? So we need to start putting our foot down. You know what I mean? Put that size 10 and a half Puma or Adidas foot down and say, hey, this has to happen here. Otherwise, it ain't happening at all. You
And
want to talk only about the top tier of world sprinting? What about the rest of us? We don't have that. As good as the Jamaicans were from Bolt, go right back. How many of those medals were won by Bolt and Shelley and Elaine and now Sharika? How many? More than half of those medals that you all won in peak were won by four people who live in about a 1 mile radius of Kingston. Come on, we're just talking facts here. This idea, how many people, how many schools have won champs more than once? Eight. Eight schools have won champs more than
you,
once. If you
you,
look at more than 5 times, oh come
you're
on,
looking
it's
at
four
data.
schools.
Yeah,
You all
you're
got a hundred
looking
and
at data.
something, 200 and something schools.
Yeah.
So this idea of what champs is, of what Jamaica track is, or what Bahamas track is, what Trinidad and Tobago track is, it's all an inflated I don't want to say it's a lie, but it's a hype train.
So
And
how do we come together collectively as a region with more than 20 islands? How do we come together and be a part of this thing? Because believe it or not, the sport is evolving and the region is being left behind.
bus went shoo.
We are
Yeah.
way, way behind.
Yeah, you see, because we're not evolving. Everybody here talked about those dinosaurs that we have to fight every day just to get our work done, right? I'm talking about I used to get paid for 3 events, all the championship events, right? And that was enough for me to pave a little bit of the way. And then George came in and he said, you know what? I'm not gonna pay you. You getting money from us. I'm like, what money? I
I,
remember Track Alerts used to have a Puma sponsorship. I don't think they still do. But we can talk intimate details about how much we need our support. We need to get money to buy new cameras. We need to get money to go out there and follow our teams. We need to go and get money just to make this phone call. I need to have internet. So there are so many things that the people who, I mean, the mainstream business model for media is dead. Nobody's paying for that anymore because they are putting AdSense ads, Google ads. If you don't watch Twice HP, they're going to put ads on this and you're not going to get paid from it. The minute this gets popular and it start hitting, you know what's going to happen? YouTube is going to monetize this platform and say, all right, great, we got you. And then you're going to get what? 10 cents every 1,000 viewers? Come on. We
Ridiculous.
need to own these things. This needs to be
well,
on an app.
Yeah.
We could develop it for you,
if we're
right?
talking
And
about,
we
if
need
we're
to have a
talking about,
weekly show like this talking about all of our track and field.
I
That's
agree.
what we need. And then
I
maybe it starts here. Who
Yes,
knows?
yes. And that is exactly when I came up with the idea to do this. That's exactly where I'm heading. Uh, President Archer is saying something. Go ahead, sir.
I maintain my position. I think that with respect to the business of this sport, I think that we're lagging behind. But I will not accept the position that track and field in our region is lagging behind. I think that we're perhaps, in terms of output, we've been more successful than any regional block in the world. If we look at the results at every, if you look at the amount of intake of scholarships that take place per capita, there are more recruits drawing from our pool of athletes than any other area. If you look at the success and medal count at the World Championships and at the Olympic Games, we have proven year over Olympic that we have had the greatest output. So to say that we are falling behind is in fact a fallacy. Has the sport grown from a macro standpoint? I would say no. I would say yes. I'm not sure whether the sport is growing at the pace that we expect for many different reasons. But to say that we're not doing our fair share, I think that would be a misrepresentation of where we are in the sport, and and,
Uh,
and the numbers just don't lie.
I
And as you're on that, President Archer, as I said, I think we can do more. We should do more. And
Sure.
while saying that, the NACAC Senior Championships is on this year. Haven't heard much about it. It will be in Nassau, Bahamas. It will be on August 15th through to the 17th. This event we should have been promoting long time ago. I think the date was finalized maybe, I don't know, maybe a month ago. But even since the date was announced, I haven't heard anything about it. And I would have only known about it because of maybe persons who I know within particular places. And this is when we should have been promoting this event, not because President Archer is here, but also because as a regional body, President Archer, President of the Bahamas Athletics Association, But this is one of the things we kept talking about, that even the promotion and marketing for our events right across Jamaica, and not right across Jamaica, but right across the region, I don't think we're doing a very good job in that. So NACAC Senior Championships going to be August 15 to 17 in Nassau, Bahamas. Not sure if it will be at the new stadium or the
And
old stadium.
Anthony, as a point of correction, as a point of correction, the venue has in fact changed. It is
Mhm.
not in Nassau anymore. It is in Freeport, Grand Bahama. We thought it was going to Jamaica, but after that didn't happen, we had to step in the gap, I would say. But it's not in Nassau; it's in Freeport, Grand Bahama.
There you go.
Obviously, that decision has come very, very late. The marketing of the event has been slow, and everything is at a cost. It's an expensive meat to deliver. And again, we go back to the same point. Revenue in the sport is limited.
Okay. When I made the comment to say that the Caribbean region is behind, what I'm referring to is we're not generating revenue. Our facility is way behind. When you look at the field events that we're doing, that we're actually on tonight, even though we're going off a little bit on other stuff, we are also behind. The Caribbean is, I think, maybe the only region where you have track and field meet, or we're at the bottom of the table where you have track and field meet and the stadiums are partially empty.
Mhm.
It happens in Jamaica also. We're not promoting our event. We're not marketing the sport. We're not branding. And as you gentlemen said earlier, you cannot walk into a store now. And I've been trying to get a Usain Bolt shirt with the lightning sign on it. And I've tried everywhere, and there's nowhere I can get that t-shirt. A lot of our athletes in the region, I want you to name me one athlete in the region or two that is branded. Tell me right now which athlete in the Caribbean that is very popular, that has done well, where I can walk into a store and buy their T-shirt, buy a T-shirt with their name on it, or their face on it, or an image of their achievement on it. And when I look at all those things, and when I look at, let us even go back to the Grand Slam. When you go to the Grand Slam, I mean, they have T-shirts just giving away. Everybody could be wearing a Grand Slam t-shirt if they wanted to. And this is something I've talked about before for Jamaica, that our trials is coming up in a few weeks. And to get a shirt is the hardest thing. It's not easy to get a Jamaican fan kit. It is not. So we are not selling anything. We're not attracting fans into the arena. We're not generating sponsorships. You know, we're just not business-like. We're not as business-like as other regions, the United States, Europe. To me, Europe is more organized than any other region. And with that, I am still going to maintain that we are lagging behind as it relates to the business of sport. All right, so somebody is saying I can get um, a VCB kit. I know what they're talking about. We can get VCB training gear, but can I get a T-shirt with VCB herself on it? Can I get a cap? Can I get a scarf? Those are the things that we talk about when we talk about branding, and that is something that we have not been doing well. Go
Look
ahead,
at something here. Look at something here. Vibes Cartel. Everybody here would have probably heard about the fiasco here with Vibes Cartel and the no show at the concert, right? Vibes Cartel's rum has already sold over 6 million US dollars
Wow.
worth of product, right? Now, where, where am I finding an analog in track and field? Where am I getting a bottle in the stadium where I can say, hey, you know what? I'm buying this so I can support directly A, B, or C athlete. Where am I getting that? And
Yep.
that decision is being made at the corporate level of these international global brands. And there are a few in the Caribbean. We have sports drinks here. We have a lot of licensed products here, but we have intrinsic brands here as well. We have alcohol brands, we have brewery brands, we have soft drink brands, snack food, cereal food. We have all kinds of brands. We have global and regional brands. Do they feel that they can make money supporting track and field? They're not even in cricket. Look at CPL. Look at the CPL. CPL is not a money making venture. You know why? Why I can say that? Because they're a private company and they're private about everything. But usually success is its own story. If they were making millions of dollars hands over fist, we would have known. We would have known. They would have been bragging and boasting. Tala was dead. How many times did that Hawksbill or whatever it is franchise change names, change location, all kind of come back, spin wheel and come back again? We're talking about, I mean, come on. If it wasn't for the expat imports, what it would just be a local domestic league. And those same players in those same national team setups, they play every weekend. Nobody goes. They're sitting down in the stands eating tuna and cheese paste sandwiches. They ain't got no sponsor, right? Why? Because there's no commercial value to any of our sport. We are missing very big gaps in the development model for commercial branding, right? And Foss talked about it for a brief minute there. The business of streaming is about selling eyeballs. Who's watching? All right. I can tell you, we're talking tonight. Trinidad is playing Costa Rica in Costa Rica, right? I don't know the score. I'm not checking, right? I'm checking the stream here. I want to make sure that people who are engaging me normally with my brand, Rapid 68, all day, every day, they normally are very strong supporters. Where are they? If I could have streamed this on my brand, I would have gotten a few people to look in, right? And we'll talk about that HP, but we'll figure this out as we go along,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yep.
Now, the point of it is this: we're the sponsors. I know some people. Let them put a couple of grand into this. Let them pop up and do some bottom thirds. Let's do some logo branding. Let's figure this out
Let me ask you a
because
question.
this is a good show. I'm
In
having a lot of fun here.
I mean, me too. In your country, in your island, do you use your athletes in ads? Because I see where Diamond just refresh my memory that we had a Milo ad with Olympian Jillian Russell, and it was very successful. Do you use your
Here in
athletes?
Trinidad,
Yes, and in the Bahamas.
let me pop a couple of names. Young brother, Lady Lava, right? I mean, I don't listen to that music. That's not my kind of thing, right? But they got mainstream sponsorship. They got mainstream sponsorship. Any track and field athlete would that have mainstream commercial branded sponsorship? No. Jarima has sponsorship, and he does a lot of good work, but it's a oil and gas company, right? Um, it's a bank. They come in, and he does those kinds of corporate social responsibility, not commercial value. So there's no brand that's coming up. And I want to touch on one last thing about it. A T-shirt, the minimum order quantity for a T-shirt from a major brand is 200 units, right? Some brands will say it's 250, right? If you look at Supreme, if you look at Chrome Hearts, if you look at Balenciaga, all of these big brands that do collabs with sport brands, athleisure brands, they're doing minimum 2 250, maybe 1,000, and they're selling it at hyperinflated prices, and it's a premium product. Noah Lyles wants to talk about why he doesn't have a shoe. Okay, why do you even have a pair of socks? Why do you even have a pair of jockey shorts? I buy a pair of Noah Lyles jockey shorts. So, when I come, I telling people, yo, I'm coming off with these jockey shorts. It's the fastest thing you ever see in your life. You know, I wouldn't be ashamed of that because I'm rocking my Noah Lyles jockeys.
Yeah.
But the reality is, where are we with any of these things? We're nowhere. We're nowhere because nobody's going to support us. You can't get a Jamaica fan kit because the Jamaica Federation, football and track and field don't know how to sell nothing. I can tell you because they have to give away tickets to racers, and that's the biggest meat. All right, the people who go, think about it like this: 3,000 kids go to champs. They come from all over the country. Some of them have to spend a week in Kingston. That's a sports tourism product, but it's internal. Does anybody from a taxi company sponsor the event? No, but they're making money. Any Airbnbs, they're making money. Any catering, they're making money. All I see is water, um, Grace
Great.
Kennedy,
Mm-hmm.
and a sports drink. Now, that's it. Look at the niches. Go and do a little logo pop up. Let somebody put 1,000 US and sponsor 2 stories for a school that one of their directors went to. I'd love to see it. But what we're saying is this: forget the millions and millions. Nobody's spending that anymore. They're not spending it on CPL. They're not spending. World Cup qualifiers are going on here in Trinidad, right? On Tuesday night, last week. No, was it Friday night last week? Tonight is Tuesday. Friday night last week, 20,000 people in the stadium, right? And if you watch the boards on the side, no disrespect to TTFA or what they've been doing, it's just that everything came so last minute because the hype train took a little while to build. But now it's in there. I'm seeing it. We could build with that. But before, maybe if we had 10,000 people in the stadium, we was real happy. It had traffic from 3 o'clock to get into the stadium, to get into town. I'm going up the road at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. The match started at 7. And it's traffic. And I'm going up against the traffic, and it's traffic for me to go up. So my point is, for us in track and field, and we come bringing it back home to the field side of track and field, we way off. We
Yeah.
don't have the systems in place.
Yeah.
We export our athletes, and think about it like this: we talk about scholarships as a business model. You invest in your athlete from age 7 and then give them away at age 20. How does that make sense? 100, 200,000 US worth of investment into that kid, and you give it away at their prime. 4 years, you don't see that kid at all. 4 years, they eat ramen and tuna, right? They get run like racehorses every week until some of them break mentally and physically just to get 1 or 2 Olympians.
And this is
That's a
why
business model.
and this
How's
is
that
why
business model?
And this is why we need to create our own systems at home so that we can give our young student athletes options. We can give them options. And I want to throw this out to President Archer. I heard a story recently that there's a young man who is very good at the javelin and he wanted to pursue the javelin, and a coach was trying to convert him to a track event. Now, listen, he loves the javelin, but the coach is trying to convert him to a track event. President Archer, how can we set up a system to ensure that people who want to stay in the field events can stay in the field events to become world beaters in the region? Because we're trying to convert, and it's not the first time hearing it, um, we try to convert field event athletes to track events, and we try to convert the middle and long distance athletes to sprinters. We are shooting ourselves in our own foot. How can we ensure that we keep our young people in the field if that's where they want to be?
Well, again, I talk about the idea of celebration, right? An athlete wants to be celebrated. An athlete cannot be celebrated as widely as they possibly can if they are if they sit in obscurity. So, for example, the 400 meters is not as popular an event as the 100 meters. Usain Bolt used to run the 400 meters, remember? But he received his stardom when he became the dominant factor in the 100 meters and 400 meters. Sponsors will less as a 400-meter runner as compared to the 100-meter runner. Yeah? You are showcased very differently. You're marketed very differently. Name me one field event athlete that has been marketed as a Usain Bolt may have been marketed. It just doesn't work. And so if the athlete
Maybe not
has the
as
option,
big,
it's
maybe not
it,
as big,
well
but I
that,
think
that's
Rojas is well marketed. What you think?
if
No?
you had to open up the books of what Rojas is being paid versus what a Shelly Ann is being paid, there is no comparison. There's simply no,
I would love to see that data.
there would be
We're
no
talking
comparison. I mean, and I'm sure that agents can give you general information on that. And maybe it would be a good exercise to invite agents to have a conversation because I think that you'll have a very, very different context. But I think that the more I listen and the more I come to the reality of our sport, first of all, I don't think that we have enough, and I praise my government for being so generous in their support to track and field and grassroots sports generally. But as a region, I don't see the evidence of governments investing enough in sport. That's one. Two, at a grassroots level and at a developmental level, we don't have a product. We are investing. And while my friend says that, they eat ramen noodles, I think that we missed the boat because everyone will. But if I am able to generate 100 scholarships every year, that means that someone will get an education, and that speaks to the development of my country. And so I praise and I celebrate the athlete who continues to do well, but I'm more concerned about how we grow as a nation. And I do believe that this sport has been one of the greatest contributors to educating young men and women who otherwise would not have been ever given an opportunity. So that's obviously a different discussion.
Let me just jump in right here. Let me just
Yeah.
jump in there. You talk about, first of all, we're giving away our best physical specimens so that they can
So
get
what?
a
So what?
scholarship.
What is
And
the
then they're not coming
alternative?
back here to work.
No.
I don't know if they come back in the Bahamas, but
In
they
the
ain't coming
Bahamas.
back here. They ain't coming back here. What are you gonna do? Most of
That's
them do
Why?
a
general degrees.
that is
That's a
a good
different issue.
point.
That's a different issue.
Most of these kids who
So
get
Dennis,
scholarships are doing
you must then ask, why aren't they coming back? What is the
because they
opportunity?
don't work.
That is
They don't
that is
work.
a national policy issue. That's a governance issue.
No, that is we is broke. It's you. The
Or what?
Caribbean, the Caribbean markets.
It's the same
Uh,
thing in Jamaica. A lot of our student athletes they don't return home
they
to
ain't coming back because they ain't got no jobs.
yeah,
Most of the time they come
Well,
back, they ain't getting a job in their field.
is
yeah.
there an economic impact one way or the other?
No,
So
I'm not saying. Listen, hold on. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying that for the commercial value of the sport, it's a horrible thing. It's a thing that we cannot get out
well,
of because we keep
there's
giving away
always
our product. If you
water,
plant 10
water
trees
finds its levels.
and
Water
if
finds
you
its
plant
levels.
10
There will
mango tree,
always
right?
be no,
Hold
no,
on
no.
a second.
Listen,
Give me
there will
2 seconds to
always
make this point.
be no. But Dennis, let me make the point.
Go ahead. You go ahead. You go ahead.
If you have 1,000 athletes going into the system every year across the area, the retention is great enough to continue to sustain the sport. And I believe that the evidence of that is clear because we continue to see the Caribbean having prominence in every event or more events than we have ever done in the history of our sport. There never used to be a time when we used to have a shot put thrower or a discus thrower or a javelin thrower or a triple jumper, female and male in this sport. We have them all, and we challenge them at the highest level. Our medal haul is the highest in the world outside of the United States. We must be doing something right. We're not perfect, but I think that when you look at the sport, it's a grassroots sport, it's a poor sport. Sponsors will pay for golf before they would, or tennis before, because it's association, it's branding, it's it's what the global corporate environment says this is great, unless it's some philanthropic, very specific cause that is a one-off. But that's what we're faced with, and that's why I
Okay,
think.
let me make a point here, right? Let me make a point here. Most of the federations here in the Caribbean get less from their shoe and clothing and equipment sponsor than Heidel, Calabar, JC, Walmers, Casey. I can tell you that for a fact. And I'm going to call names, but
Why
I'll
is
blink.
that?
I'll
Why is
blink.
that?
I'm
Because they
blinking
get
back
the
at you
greatest,
I'll
now.
they get
blink.
support, they get
Most
their
of them.
support, no, they
Remember,
get their
Julian
support
Alfred
from
went to
their
Caribbean
alumni,
Games in
the alumni
2023 in a
association.
Walmart outfit
No,
that
no,
she
no, no,
bought
no.
just before she
The
came
reason
out
why that
on the
happens
way
is
back
because
to Caribbean Games.
the
Remember
reason
this.
the reason why that happens is because they get the greatest support from their alumni associations. The alumni associations are the ones who provide scholarships to these athletes. I know it for a fact. They come back
That's
and
true.
they
That's
support,
correct. Yeah.
all right? And that, so there is a support system. Outside of that, what are member federations doing? FIFA model changed. FIFA never used to provide the kind of funding that it does now. FIFA never invested in grassroots development as they do now. FIFA never used to market as they do now. And they now have a totally different product. We just
I'm
have to
going to
address it.
read. I'm going to read a comment to you guys, and you tell me what you think. The NCAA colonization of the Caribbean athletes at a level is disheartening. It is the biggest robbery in sport. Somebody just type that comment. Your thoughts?
What is the
100%.
alternative? What is the
100%.
alternative? I went to a US university. I wasn't a great athlete, but I became a professional. So the alternative is you call it robbery, I call it benefit. How does that translate to the wider Caribbean? That changes depending on the retention. Brain drain is a real issue,
Yeah.
but the economic impact remains the same because if I'm in New York on Wall Street and Dennis and my dad is in Trinidad, I'm sending money back home. There's still an economic impact.
You can still send it. I'm just saying. I'll send you my cash app. No, but for real, let me jump in. Let me jump in. And I
But
don't
I
want to
don't know
sound
what
too
the alternative
contentious.
is.
Hold on, hold on, hold
We
on, hold
must
on, hold on, hold
establish
on,
the alternative.
hold on, hold on. Hear what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying. You're a president of a member federation,
Yeah.
a member association. Development of athletes is an important part of your portfolio. If you don't send scholarship athletes abroad, you are considered a failure. I am in media, right? If that athlete doesn't win something, I don't have anything to write about.
Right.
Nobody wants to read that somebody came 35th with a new PR. They're not interested. You know why? Because that's what I do every week. This week we've got Leah Bertrand, ranked number 2 in NCAA in the 100 meter, right? Just ran a second sub 11. She's a former Trinidad and Tobago Olympian Paris. Enough respect. Leah, great athlete. I know her since she's a teenager, right? And what I can say to you is this: her road to where she is now is so unique that it cannot be replicated by any other Trinidad and Tobago athlete. The year that Leah graduated high school, 8 girls in that final, all 8 of them went to university on scholarship. Out of the semifinals, 6 of those semifinalists also went to university on scholarship. The year that Julian Alfred graduated school, there were 6 Trinis faster than her. If she had been a Trini, she would have been forgotten already. She would have gone to some little rinky dink school somewhere in some corner, a little Idaho or some kind of Louisiana, maybe. Yeah, somebody with 2 cows and a track. She got that because of faith of Coach Flo. The kind of community that she came from, they granted her that scholarship on faith. And she showed up because she had no other choice but to be awesome, but to be famous, and but to be fast. Because she know from where she coming from, it ain't no turning back. It's either I do this or I bust, and that gravity hit her harder than bricks. So she went, and it wasn't a success, so immediate success story. It took 2 years for her to get to where she wanted to get to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
putting it to you now that if Julian Alfred, her analog in 2025, runs 1167 coming out of high school, she ain't going no D1, Power 5. Are you crazy? Get out of here. She had to be running probably a 11.3. She got to be running 11.2 straight out of high school. Otherwise, it ain't no Power 5. Are we being real here? So the product has changed. NIL. Let's talk about that for a minute. Who's getting NIL? Who in college is getting 5-figure NIL? Right? We've got 4 athletes in Trinidad and Tobago who are getting NIL. The Frederick twins, we've got Lisa Ray, right? And we've got a couple of the other guys, they're getting something from Cat Speed, a brand. And I really support that brand. Who else is getting? We've got 70 kids on scholarship. Who else is getting NIL? Let's be real. Let's
Top,
talk about the
top,
business of
top
business.
tier, top tier.
This ain't none of them ain't getting no NIL. So this idea with track and field, which is a non-commercial sport, is going to be giving athletes NIL or paying them to run is ridiculous. And it's not going to happen. But we're selling them that dream. And I'm putting to you as a president of a member association, right? We need to start decoding these realities because most of those kids on a F1 visa do not have NIL. They can't get it. They don't qualify for it. And if they start to make money, they will get deported in this Trump universe. They're going to be deported because they're looking for any little thing. So what I'm saying to you guys is this, right? We need to talk about the business of track and field before we start to talk about these other developmental issues because one follows the other. If
Let
people
me ask
coming
you
in
a
and they're
question.
making money, I'm
Why
selling more water, I'm
hasn't
selling more shoes, I'm selling more jockey shorts, I'm selling more
countries
this, that, or the other, then great.
countries who are signatory to the University of the West Indies,
Say
uh,
again? I
countries
didn't hear that last part. Sorry about that.
countries who are signatories to the University of the West Indies, we all make
Hmm.
contributions to UE. Yeah, there are 3 campuses. Why haven't we developed a product that would cause our athletes to stay here, train here, and be a part of our ecosystem?
Why? I can't
Again,
prove I can't prove a negative, but
so,
I did go to UE. I went to UE.
but I'm talking about the alternative. A lot of people talk about
Mhm.
the brain drain. That is the remedy to avoid brain drain. That we can retain our athletes, they stay within our area. If CSME is ever to be best exploited, it would be the free exchange of labor after they would have matriculated out of the university. But again, we go back to the point. We talk about what is the negative, but what is the opportunity? And the opportunity is what I want to explore more than anything else. So
Totally agree. And that would be my next question. How can we create a system in closing this part of it until next week? How can we create an environment within the region? Because in Jamaica, we have started doing that over the last 20 years, where most of our top athletes are now at home training. But of course, it is mostly the system that we have in Jamaica is more fitting for sprinters, not necessarily for field events and the middle long distance. So how can we do more of that now? As Tobago Sports Live is saying, we have to try to build our brand so that our athletes can at least stay and help to develop our sport instead of going away to seek opportunities. We need to know as a region
Bye. Never see you again.
come together and try to do that.
the
Share the
very
resources.
essence of CARIFTA, the genesis of CARIFTA was the Caribbean Free Trade Agreement, right? And out of that was born the CARIFTA Games as a regional integration through sport. I think that's a springboard to retaining our athletes into an incubation system through the University of the West Indies. But governments must come together and create a sporting model. Because I tell you, the one country or two countries that truly benefited and put their countries on the map in a very different way, in a very consequential way, would have been Thea Alphon from Dominica and Julian Alfred from St. Lucia. We are exporting a product that collectively we can draw people to come to the Bahamas, come to Trinidad, come to every part of the Caribbean and say, this is where you should be. We can attract the world's best athletes to the University of the West Indies because we have the most idyllic conditions for training. Again, it really is a question of priority and regional collective priority. But the University of the West Indies has an infrastructure that can sort of develop this concept that we talk about. And that's where I think opportunity lies.
Recently, I was having a conversation with someone, and I was saying that we need to revive the collegiate system in, I was actually talking about Jamaica. We need to revive the collegiate system in Jamaica, and the universities, the community colleges, the teachers colleges, they need to be offering more student athletes scholarship and have them stay in Jamaica. And of course, the collegiate system, they could be a part of that. And then, of course, we would have more of our athletes staying home. And of course, somebody said to me that HP, that is not going to work. Why? Why?
I
It's
think
too
that
expensive.
I think the context that we talk about, it should not be so narrow. While UE is a wonderful platform, UE as a learning institution should form a part of a conference
Hmm.
where we can align ourselves with the NCAA, whether it's Division One, Two, or any other stratification of what a conference looks like. But that is where we leverage. That's where the exchange takes place. That's how we grow. That's how we develop our own product and export it back to the world.
Think
We
think think
want to
of
be able to
this.
bring athletes back to to where we are and to sell that as a marketing tool.
Think
And
think about think about this. Think about this, right? If you have a mid-major in the US, a mid-major conference, right? In conference play, you can drive a bus. You can go to everybody in your conference on one bus, boom, 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 and you're good. Every weekend, let's jump on a bus and we go. And that's basically how that business model is. For us to get there, and I want to shout out Akai and I want to shout out Kerry on the YouTube. Enough respect, thanks for joining in. But ask Akai to just type up how much it costs for her to go with Suntag. How much it cost for her club to go with Suntide, and how much did you get back? You got some nice medals, got some nice trophies. I saw the
Dennis,
lads win,
we have to
but you ain't got
create
no money.
we have to
They
create
no, they ain't got no
hold on.
revenue share. You
We
don't
have
have
to
no no
create
no. No,
value
nobody from your boosters coming in and paying you anything. You ain't got no
no,
NIL. We got a
no,
lot of
no.
problems to fix.
We have to
Big gaps.
create a value system where bilateral agreements between ourselves and US based universities or UK based universities can be a part of this network where trading takes place and contributions are made. So that if I'm a part of a division or conference, then if I'm contributing to this through commercial value, then they contribute financial reward to us. It's a very sophisticated thing that we've never considered. At UE, I was in Barbados in the law program. We had students from Harvard that were part of the exchange program, where we sat in the classroom with students from Harvard. Isn't that a wonderful opportunity? So what changes where we can do the very same thing, get a same degree from UE, but I can train at the University of Florida or vice versa. Um, uh, um, Mike Holloway can come and train some of the athletes at the University of the West Indies. The exchange is
J.
really
Hugh
powerful,
Gordon,
and that's
right?
trading in a very
World champion 400-meter hurdles,
Mhm.
went to UE St. Augustine.
Yes.
Okay? So it is a possibility. How much of his training was actually done through the UE coaches? Zero.
Well, most
Zero.
of the Jamaican
But you
athletes
got scholarship.
trained in Jamaica, and they
No,
proved to
but
be successful.
no, but look at this. Simeon is saying the best coaches are looking to grow their clubs and ultimately their country. But going back to Jamaica, Shelley and Fraser Price went to university in Jamaica. She went to the University of Technology. Sharon Simpson went to the University of Technology training Jamaica. Asafa Powell, the same thing. Nesta Carter, the same thing. Sharika Jackson. So, a lot of them went to, attended university in Jamaica and trained right there in
What was the
Jamaica.
impact of
We
that? The impact of that
What
has
was
been,
Shelley's choices? Just now, hold on. What was Shelley's
yeah, give me
choices coming out
choices.
of high school?
Don't even
Because
ask that
Kellyanne
question.
Batiste was beating her left, right, and
And
center
I
at Turf
Yeah, but
Tough.
understand
she was
that.
still a top tier
I
Okay?
athlete.
under, I
She was still
understand
a
that.
top
I
tier athlete.
understand that because Shellyan was not discovered until she went to university because Shellyan was in the shadows of a young lady by the name of Anisha McLaughlin
Okay, so what
and
about Usain Bolt?
Simone Facey.
What about Usain Bolt?
So
Come on, man. You make a
That's
choice.
two. Okay. That's two.
You make a decision. The
That's two. There
point,
are
the point is well
800
established.
in the 800
Point is,
meter. There are
wait,
100 kids in
wait.
the in Jamaica
The
who are faster
point,
than our fastest
the,
kids. 100.
the point is well established that the Nikes of the world, the Pumas of the world, they didn't go to them. They came. The Pumas and Nikes of the world came to us.
yeah. Mhm.
That is the value proposition. They
Mhm.
came
Mhm.
to us. Again, we have to leverage differently through education, through sport, through entertainment, because that's what the Caribbean sells.
All
When
right.
you
So
talk
hold
about
on.
the
Let me just make another point. Simeon is saying they are Jamaican athletes training in Jamaica. What about athletes from other countries? UE is in three territories, and I
that is
totally.
precisely the point.
But
That is
what we
precisely
can do, we can have the coaches. Jamaica has a university for physical education, which is the GC
that is
Foster.
precisely the point.
And I'm saying coaches from the Jamaican region can be coaching athletes from, it doesn't matter which of the UE campus you're
When I
on.
say UE, I wasn't only referring to Jamaica. I
Right,
was referring to Trinidad, referring to Barbados,
all of
and
them.
having that unit trade with other universities.
Oh, yes,
That's
exactly.
How many Cuban athletes competed in Paris Olympics for Cuba?
I don't
How
know.
many of them
I don't
competed
really know.
for Spain, Portugal, other countries? How many
Growing
of them
number.
have been exported? This idea of development without commercial value is fool's gold. We're selling dreams. We're selling dreams. And I'm saying to you, Cuba, yes, as good as Jamaica's sports coaching degrees are, you got 100 or something more than that
Again,
in Cuba. You got
the the
hundreds of
the bedrock,
sports
the bedrock of
technical.
sport, the bedrock of sport is
Just now,
trading.
hold on.
Is
What I'm
trading.
saying is, in Cuba, badminton, table tennis, track and field, track cycling, road cycling, they have athletes in abundance. Baseball. Every ship that pass a baseball player watching it so. Because they know the minute they hit, they go on and they get a contract. And that's just the reality of it. Because they know that they can get a job and they can send back money to change their family's welfare. They change their family's fortune in 2, 3 years. We can't do that in track and field, right? The best
So
track and field
so
athletes, you have to
to blow
understand
up
that they're
to blow it up.
faster, they're stronger, and they jump better.
So what do you?
Speed. If you had physical genius, you would be playing with that same speed. You can make 50, 100, 1,000 times more playing soccer.
So how do
I,
we how do
I'm here.
we fix this problem that we are having? How do we stay in the game with our own product that we are exporting? How do we enjoy some of it? How do we, because we're going to talk next week again about the middle and the long distance that is non-existent in the Caribbean. So with the field events as it is, how do we get a little bit, how do we stay more competitive? Because I have some data here, it's in my head. When I look at the medals that we won at the Paris Olympic Games, three Caribbean islands, Jamaica, Dominica, and Grenada, out of 20, and well, maybe not all of them went to the Olympic Games, but only three Caribbean islands were able to come back with field medals. Jamaica four, including a gold, Grenada a bronze, and Dominica a gold. How do we now get it
Can I
right?
respond to that? Can I
Sure,
respond to that? Let me say this.
sure.
Every time you say Caribbean territory,
Hmm.
say small town in the US. How many small towns in the US have Olympic medalists from Paris? Arkansas, um, Georgia, Mississippi, Texas. How many of those small towns have players
Florida.
in the NFL, in the NBA, and they play at the highest level? I'm just saying that the practical reality of getting to the top 1% or top 0.5% of the world's best athletes in a sport is very difficult. And
But
for
Dennis,
most of us in the
but
Caribbean,
Dennis, we
this is
have
a this
the
is a
raw
part-time
talent.
sport.
We
This is a
have the
part-time
raw,
sport. Sorry, go ahead.
we have the raw talent, Dennis.
Raw
We have
talent's
we
everywhere.
have the
Talent,
talent.
talent at the highest level is nearly irrelevant. If you don't have systems to support that talent, it's irrelevant. All
Well,
talent is going to bring
I
is
agree.
heartbreak,
I agree. I have to agree with you on that.
right?
There's
So,
no,
so we are, of course, we got talent. We got talent so much that we can ignore and just pick and choose the ones that we like the most, the ones with
but
the best attitude, the ones with the best parents and support, the ones who have friends who can sponsor our club. Those are the kids who we want. The ones who have connections, maybe a past student from our school and they get in, or in Trinidad they say we GT, we get through. That's who we pick. Nobody is going in them little. Listen, Shelly, and we have to go back to Shelly. Shelly mother deserve a national award because it have countless other Shellys who never made it, right? Because their mother didn't stand up behind them and create the opportunities that Shelly had opportunities to go forward in it. And even as a teenager, right? Shelly wasn't the best Jamaican.
true.
Who went to Penn Relays that year that she ended up being the Jamaican on the Curfter team? Come on. I love Shelly. I'm a PTA dad. When I see Shelly running in a PTA race, I'm like, beat them like snake. I love it because it means that she's not just an Olympian. She's a passionate mom and she's a passionate human who's going to do a lot for her son growing up. And whether her son could get out of that shadow, who can say? Most kids can't, right? But she would have been able to bring him up. And by the same way that her mother brought her up, how many kids from Shelly's school who had better shoes, better school bag, didn't have to borrow nothing, didn't have to ask for nothing, whose names we will never know because they never came out. They never amounted to anything. They might have a good job as an accountant somewhere. They might have an attorney. Sure, who knows? But did they run and beat people in the Olympics? No. Why not? Why not? So I'm saying to you guys, listen, until we fix that part of the problem where we can go from here to here to here and make real money, look at Asafa. Look at how much car that man have. Look at Usain. Usain has so much money that one of the top firms in the Jamaica finance sector could thief several millions of it. And he's still ain't eating ramen. That's the kind of money Usain have. Shelly has been very conservative. She's done a lot with her hair business. She's done a lot with her foundation. I see the stuff she's been doing and it's amazing, right? VCB, a legend, right? But let's look at the gaps here. Let's look at a Warren Weir. Let's look at a Nesta Carter, right? Let's look at a Johan Blake, right? Johan Blake running 10:48 this week. Why? Because he have $1 million sitting down home? No, it's because he had to run. Why does Johan Blake have to run? Why? Because he wants to? No, I more feel it's because he have no other choice.
I feel like he's
There
not
are 100 Jamaicans faster than Johan Blake this year.
true, true, true.
Right? So I'm saying to you guys, right? We have to change the realities and stop selling the dreams. Yes, college will always be part of it. But where are the pros? Only Jamaica has pros. You know how many Trinidad and Tobago agents there are registered with World Athletics? Zero.
Wow.
Jamaica has, if I'm
Quite
not
a few.
mistaken,
Quite a
about
few.
19.
Quite
There
a
are
few.
60 something American agents. Trinidad has zero. So if you telling me, I as a Trini, I repping 868, right? Boom! Nice. And it's a 3 Yardy and 3 Bahaman, right? And 4 Yankee. I get any million from Nike? Come on. Stop mama guy me. Stop lie to me. And you know I ain't getting no money. I might get a little piece. But I ain't getting the whole hog. I ain't getting it. Some Yankee getting that. Some Yardy getting that. And that money is going to make a huge difference. Huge difference.
Wow.
Right?
And with
Let's
that
be real.
in closing, we were supposed to be here for an hour and a half. It's 2 hours. But we are going to continue
Talk
next
sweet.
Tuesday. Yes, the talk is sweet and I love it. We're going to continue next week, Tuesday, and next week, Thursday. Next week, Tuesday, gentlemen, we're going to be looking at the favorite part of the sport for me, the middle and the long distance. Why are we treating it like a stepchild? It's not even a stepchild. I don't even know what to call it. So we are going to talk about that. And Thursday, we're going to be talking about the sprints from the 100 to the four hurdles, that kind of thing. And we're going to close out the following Tuesday with the relays because the relays it mashing me up. So we're going to talk about that. But gentlemen, it was a pleasure having you here. But before you go, I just want to hear a final thought and how we can be a little bit more aggressive in the field. Take it away. Anyone can go first. Mr. President, you want to go first, sir?
I've always been a proponent of a grassroots program, a kids athletics program That is the foundation of our sport, introducing young kids to varying aspects of our sport and teaching them coordination, hand-eye coordination, and just being in a fun-filled, happy environment is what I think the sport needs to encourage. It is a very, very competitive world that we live in, and we grow at different stages of our lives. So a little kid may grow may not grow at the same rate that Dennis grows. The Dennis is much bigger than I am when I'm younger, but I grow into a much faster, stronger athlete 10, 15 years later. And so it starts with not being so competitive at the start. But what that also does is it identifies talent, natural talent, instinctive talent very early that you can continue nurturing. I believe that whether it is in the sprints, whether it is in the middle distance or throws or jumps, you'll be able to discover more talent by that exercise. And that starts from really having a clearly thoughtful developmental program. And so that is a catch all for all of the disciplines, but certainly I think it benefits those who are in the throws. And then we have to disabuse our minds from the thinking that track and field is just track and it's just track. And that the less glamorous of sport or discipline would be the throws or the field events. I think every promotion of the event should carry its own weight, but that too in itself has a component of marketing that we I think have fallen short of doing and doing well. And then of course I think that we have to grow a base that supports the sport. World Athletics cannot do it. NACAC has not done it. I think member federations have a very difficult time. And so we need the intervention of government and government imposing on corporate Caribbean widely to say, you must be a part of this developmental process. And so we need the will of governments and the will of partners like the graces of the world to say we want to invest in grassroots development. And that I think has exponential opportunity beyond the sport itself.
Well said. Dennis?
Yeah, I think to backstop what you just said there is we do a really good job at grassroots. What we don't do is fruits. See the top. We need to do a better job there so that we can keep a lot more of those athletes who graduate out of universities abroad. We can keep them into the programs for at least one more Olympic cycle. We have graduates leaving it within the first year, maybe second year of departing school. Um, we need to have them for at least another 3 or 4 years. That way, we can build what was the developmental model where people would always say the hand that forged the blade doesn't sharpen the blade. And I could get that. So you want to export the athlete during their formative years, no problem, but we had to get them back. So we need to build that ecosystem where we keep them in that system. So what Jamaica has done has been informative, has been instructive, and has been very important to their own track and field legacy. The gaps between your Herb McKinley's and all of these things and your and Usain all the way to Sherika, when you look and you compare those epochs of Jamaica track and field, you see that there are big differences between when they were exporting and when they were growing at home and when they're professionalized. I think there are too many clubs now, so people have options. So I don't like you, it's too hard, and you're getting your licks. You're getting licks. You have to stop that. You have to hush them out, do your push ups, run your drills, and run fast. Earn your food, right? You can't be recruiting kids out of high school and they're taking 3 years to come up. That don't make no sense. Let them stay, let them graduate, let them have their little friend and them in school, and then throw some money at them. An athlete who is 20 years old, physically, mentally, is mature enough to handle a professional environment. That is why you don't have a lot of teenagers working in Fortune 500 companies. because they're not ready for it. Track and field, professional track and field, is the epitome, the top evolution of our sport. Why are we throwing $1 million contracts at teenage kids? Teenage kids that okay, yeah, you win at Crifter. All right, you have a world 20 under 20 medal. All right, good. Who you beat? What did you win when you beat them? Go back in school and hush them out. That's what we should be doing, right? Last thing I want to say is, you see this format here, where we get to pitch ideas, debate it, and talk a whole wide range. I think 2 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes. Wonderful. Let's clip it up. Let's put it out. Let's let people see what we're doing. This is the kind of show that talks about the kinds of things that really needs to light the fire under some of those dinosaurs in our member association. Present company excluded. I'm telling you. All right. You got some great ideas, homeboy. Let's talk. Let's try to build some things. We need a professional track league in the Caribbean,
Yes.
right? We need about at least 8 weeks, right? Every other week, we need to do that. Otherwise, what is going to happen is we have no opportunities for them kids coming out of school,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it is going to be by nature a B league, but it will be we league, and we athletes going to benefit from it. And our fans are going to be able to say, hey, you know what? I could buy a Sharika Jackson shirt and come out and rep for my squaddies. Because what will happen is we will understand where our value is. Because we see it every weekend in CPL for about 10 minutes. CPL ain't no big thing, but that's world cricket for you. But if we could get something that looks like CPL for track and field, I think we would do it really great. Yeah. But that's my piece. Hey, thanks for having me this week. I'm going to be here next week and I'm going to talk more mad thing.
Oh
And I'm
yes.
going to light fire on the real people and people are going to come out with, what is this Rasta man coming with? What? Yeah. But
I,
yeah,
gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. It is very informative, entertaining, enlightening, the whole works. One Caribbean. Thank you very much. And I will see you next week. And remember, it will be about the middle and long distance. And that's my baby. So we're going to have a lot to talk about. So, same time next week, Tuesday. Thank you very much. Mr. President, thank you for responding on such short notice. I'll see you next week. And Dennis, thank you very much. Thank you.
thanks for having me.
And
This
yes,
has been a
anytime.
treat. I enjoyed participating and listening to Dennis.
Yes, yes.
Wonderful, guys. Thanks for having me. Y'all
You're
take care.
welcome.
Bye, folks. Thanks for
Bye.
joining in.
Bye.
Fans,
Bye.
big
One
up on
Caribbean.
yourself.
One Caribbean. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in. What a conversation! A conversation that is needed. It is needed for the region because, as we all agree, we need to do a little bit better. We have to do a little bit better. We need to look a little bit better. So thank you all for tuning in. Diamond, thank you very much for all those comments. Big up yourself and everyone who tuned in tonight from Africa, Asia, Europe, Antarctica, Oceanic, North America, South America. Thank you very much for being here. And we will be here next week again when we will talk about the non existence of the middle and long distance events. Guys, thank you very much. Tamika, hey, you're just, oh, she said great show, so it means that she was here. Thank you for being here, Tamika. Thank you very much. James Carr, thank you for being here. Let me see if I can give everyone a shout out. Trap Diamond, Run It Up TV was also here. Simeon Christoph, thank you for passing through. Louis Dennis was also here. Paul Vision, I hope I got that right. I'm sure I just butchered that name, but thank you for being here. James. Imani, thank you. Imani Abdullah was also here. Thank you very much for being here. Akia Webster, my friend from Trinidad and Tobago, thank you very much for being here also. Earlier I Tobago Sports Live was also here. Thank you very much for being here, everyone who turned out. Akia did say Akia. Dennis Allen, of course. Dennis was a part of the show. Thank you all for being here. Earlier, we had some Jamaican Olympian. We had Ruth Williams Simpson. I saw her. I also saw Ethelyn Tate, another Jamaican Olympian. Sports Circles 345. Thank you very much for passing through. Anthony C. Blair. Thank you very much also for being here. Carrie Ann Phillips was also in the building. Thank you all. Marlene Green was also here. Kermit Taylor was here. So many people. Damian Maxwell was also here. The Masters man was also here. Monica Lewis was also here. Bonnie M. 1972-1976 Olympian, Jamaican, was also here. I said Ethelyn Tate. Everyone, thank you all for tuning in and thank you for being a part of the discussion. The discussion was very festive. And of course, thanks to my neighbors from Trinidad and Tobago, from the Bahamas. St. Lucia was supposed to be in the building. Hopefully, he will join us next week. Anthony Foster, Track Alerts, was also in the building. Thank you, guys. It is all about the Caribbean. Caribbean track and field. It is about coming together as one Caribbean. So, guys, thank you very much for being here. And remember, next week, Tuesday, we will be here again when we talk about the middle and the long distance events that I love so much. So thank you guys very much. I'm seeing Ronald M. Ali. He said, enjoy the chat. Thank you guys very much. Remember to like, share, subscribe, all the niceties. Show HP Chat Track some love. Until next time, I will see you again soon. I should be back here Thursday night. I should be back here, but next week for sure, looking at the middle and long distance. One Jamaica, one Caribbean. Thank you guys very much. Have a great evening, and I will see you soon. Be safe. And remember, it is all about track and field. Just chat. See you soon. Bye.
Jamaica's track and field legacy is unmatched. It is a story of triumph, resilience, and extraordinary talent. But do you know the stories behind the athletes who brought us glory? Hi, I'm HP, founder of HP Chat Track. My mission is simple: to celebrate the rich legacy of Jamaica track and field and shine a light on the incredible people who make it happen. Winning that race was a dream come true, but the journey wasn't easy. It's not just about medals, it's about inspiring the next generation. Jamaica track and field isn't just a sport, it's our pride, our culture, our heart. Every week I sit down with athletes, coaches and fans to bring you stories of dedication, passion and legacy. Plus, we've got exciting news and exclusive insights into the world of track and field. Make your Thursday night be at HP's place. Come hang out with us at HP Chat Track Studio, where track and field is our business. Jamaica,